the absolute value function. First of all, what is absolute value? Absolute value is just a distance, regardless of the direction. For example, if we start here at the origin and I travel 3 units to the right, that distance has an absolute value of 3. No surprise there. That's the symbol we use for absolute value, by the way. The absolute value of 3 is 3. But if I travel in the opposite direction, to -3, what's that distance? It's still 3 units. It's just going in the opposite way. So we talk about the absolute value of -3 being 3. We just ignore the direction. We don't care what direction it's traveling. We're just interested in how long the line is. Now, same thing applies if I were to swing that around, say to there, to that particular point. So that line I've just drawn, it's a certain distance in the x direction, there's a certain distance in the y direction, but the hypotenuse, that straight line there, still has an absolute value of 3. It's 3 units long. So it doesn't matter what direction your line is traveling, we're only interested in its length. And we're going to use that for the absolute value function. So let's have a look at one to play around with. Why is the absolute value of 2, x take away 2, plus 1? What does that even mean? So first of all, I'm going to have a look at, I'm going to do up a table of values. I'm going to choose some values of x to look at, like -1, 0, +1, +2, +3, +4. For each of those values of x, I'm going to investigate what x minus 2 will look like, and I'm going to investigate what the absolute value of x minus 2 is going to look like. So, let's choose when x is equal to -1. Let's put it into this. If x is -1, I've got -1 take 2 is -3. If I put 0 in, 0 take 2 is -2. I put 1 in, 1 take 2 is -1. I put 2 in, 2 take 2 is 0, clearly +1, +2. So that's the x minus 2 component, but I don't want the x minus 2 component per se. I want x minus 2 component, but just the length of the line, the absolute value. So I just want to take the number regardless of the positives or negatives of it. So -3, its absolute value will be +3, +2, +1, 0, 1, 2, etc. Okay, very good. What does that look like? Let me draw a graph and we'll see if we can explain that. So if I was to graph the x minus 2 part of it, it says that if I went to -1 on the x-axis, I would go to -3 on the y. There is a point. And then it says if I go to 0 on the x-axis, I go to -2 on the y. If I go to +1 on the x-axis, I go to -1 on the y. If I go to 2 on the x-axis, I go to 0 on the y. And 3, 1. And 4, 2. So if I join them up with a straight line, that line there would be the graph of y is equal to x minus 2. But we don't want the graph of y equals x minus 2, we want the graph of the absolute value of x minus 2, which means any negative components, these numbers, become positive. Or in other words, any values that are below the y-axis are going to get flipped over, say that again, any values that are below the x-axis are going to get flipped over to be going above the x-axis. So this one here, where I was 3 units below the x, I'm now going to go, that point gets flipped up to there to become 3 units above the x, the absolute value. Same thing for the 2, same thing for the 1. 0 of course stays as 0, that's already above, so here, what I have now is the absolute value graph. Just do it a little bit more clearly for you. So, if that is the original curve, and we want the absolute value of it, it just flips everything above the x-axis. So whatever's below the x-axis flips to become above the x-axis. Whatever's above the x-axis stays there. So that component is the straight line through there. The absolute value component is the V-shaped line. So I'm just going to rub out this particular component here because I've almost finished graphing the absolute value function that I want. I've got the x minus 2 absolute value part here right now. But now every single one of those points has to be shifted up one place. So every point now goes up one place. Right, now let's rub out this line to make things a little easier to see. What we have there, this graph is all y values are generated by taking the absolute value of x minus 2 and then adding 1 to that result. Absolute value graphs. Anything that's below the x-axis gets flipped. For example, if I had the graph of y equals x squared minus 1, it looks like this. If I had the absolute value of x squared minus 1, it's going to look like this. Everything that's above the x-axis stays there. Everything below the x-axis gets mirrored back up, and everything above the x-axis stays there. So that is the graph of x squared minus 1, the absolute value. Alright, best of luck. We'll practice some of them in class, so I'll see you there.